When I was a bit younger, I would go with my father to junk stores across the state in which I reside. Most of the time, they were filled with useless junk. Cheap, mass-produced clothes, overpriced dining sets, and a very few actually useful items that were almost always tucked in the back somewhere and were also overpriced. But sometimes, every once in a while, you could get lucky and find a joint nestled in some out-of-the-way locale that was a veritable treasure trove of cool old knickknacks, military surplus supplies, and old tools for the working man of half a century ago. They were rare, but very rewarding finds that always put a smile on my dad's face as he tucked some treasure into the bed of his truck. These stores always had a specific but loyal customer base that would return regularly, as well as the seasonal junk hounds like my dad who would pass by when they could. And then a few years would pass, and coming back, one would find that the place was under new management. The old operators moved on or passed away, and the new proprietors had replaced all the old stock with that same old homogeneous crap that could be found in 100 other discount Goodwills across the state. And all the old clientele was gone because they weren't serving their needs, and the new customers bore the establishment no loyalty and only came rarely, and then only until the novelty wore off. The end result was that the shop would eventually shutter. My father referred to this as the final stage of entropy, as it was seemingly inevitable as these stores passed from the hands of the people who had built them by catering to a specific group of people, and the new owners would come in and try to appeal to as broad a consumer base as possible. That, as it turned out, did not exist in a meaningful enough quantity to keep them afloat. Now, I know what you're thinking. Pete, that is a very depressing story and all, but what the hell does it have to do with entertainment? Well, ladies and gentlemen, most modern franchises were built to serve specific audiences. For example, Star Wars was built as a brand mostly appealing to men and boys. Sure, some girls and women liked it, but it was a brand built on male fantasies, and let's be perfectly clear. The demographic to which it appealed was hardly a small one by any means, as men and boys make up about half the planet. Whereas modern Disney Star Wars has erred in that the powers that be, the owners of Lucasfilm, were convinced by certain actors within the company that they could make more money by appealing to a different set of demographics, who are consumers, not customers, who bear them no loyalty and will move on to the next thing as soon as the novelty is worn off. And this isn't just reserved for Star Wars. It has happened to nearly every major pop culture franchise and institution because with the visionaries and original creatives long departed, the new management believed it was prudent to appeal to a broader audience that doesn't exist. The biggest mistake constantly made by corporations is that they believe that changing a franchise to be something that is wildly different to what it was will have any result but complete failure. And that is why they appeal to those who didn't like the old stuff and only care about the new until the novelty wears off. And so, these once great franchises made for nerds fell to the final stage of entropy. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Pete, the Radical Nerd, signing off.